Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we spend so much of our time here trying to catch the next wave,
Hmm.
looking at new tech or some complex geopolitical shift. But
Mm.
today, I want to do the exact opposite. I want to look at the bedrock.
Mm.
We are stripping everything back to the engine of personal economics itself.
It's a bit of a palate cleanser, honestly. We're looking at a source material today that makes a really bold claim.
Very bold.
It says that despite all the noise, the crypto coins, the side hustles, all the seminars, there are fundamentally only three ways to acquire wealth. That's it.
Just three.
Just three pillars.
And what I loved about this text, The Three Pillars of Wealth Acquisition,
Mhm.
is how it presents all this through a really simple narrative. It's like almost deceptive. It gives us these two characters, Sean and Annie,
Right.
and they just act out these economic scenarios. It
Mm.
reads like a fable you'd tell a kid, but then you realize, oh, this is a blueprint for how the global economy actually works.
It's deceptive because the words are so familiar. We're going to talk about wages, rent, and interest. And I can almost hear people tuning out thinking, okay, I know what a wage is, I know what rent is.
Sure.
But the whole mission of this deep dive is to show that you probably don't understand them the way this source does. This isn't about dictionary definitions. It's about the underlying logic of time, ownership, and risk.
That was the real aha moment for me.
Yeah.
I realized these aren't just, categories on a tax form.
No.
They're completely different relationships with the world, different states of being almost.
Yeah.
So let's get into the machinery. The source starts with the pillar that, well, most of us know very, very well. Pillar one, wages.
Or as the text puts it, and I think this is pretty provocative, selling yourself.
They do add in a good way,
Yeah.
in parentheses, but yeah, still a really striking way to frame it.
It's striking because it removes all the abstraction. We say salary or career, and it sounds professional, but the mechanism that Sean and Annie illustrate is just raw. It's a transaction. In this scenario, you're the seller. You have this finite resource, your time, your brain, your muscle, and you sell blocks of it to Sean, the employer. He pays you for the result, or more often than not, just for the hours you gave up.
And the source is pretty ruthless about how the price for that is set. We like to think we get paid based on our worth,
Yeah.
as a person or how hard we try. But the text boils its value equation down to just two things.
Rareness and necessity. That is the entire formula.
That's it.
How rare is the skill you're selling, and how badly does the market, which is Annie in the story, how badly does she need that skill?
It's just the classic supply and demand curve, but applied to a human life.
Right.
If I'm a specialized neurosurgeon, my skill is incredibly rare, and the need is, well, life or death high, so my wage is massive.
Right.
But if I'm doing general data entry, the need is there, but the rareness factor is basically zero.
Which explains why some of the absolute hardest jobs pay the least. The labor isn't scarce, but here's the critical insight, and this is where I think the source really shines. It points out what it calls the main minus, the fatal flaw of the wage pillar.
And this applies to
Everyone. To the neurosurgeon just as much as the data entry clerk.
the time cap.
Of a time cap. The simple biology of a 24-hour day. The source is so blunt about it, you cannot sell what you do not have. You can't work 25 hours. You can't be in two places at once.
Uh-huh.
So mathematically, your income in this pillar has a hard ceiling. It is unscalable.
I think this is what people mean when they talk about golden handcuffs in the corporate world. You might be earning a fantastic wage, right? Maybe $500,000 a year, but you are chained to the clock if you stop showing up.
The money stops instantly.
The money stops. There is no momentum in this pillar at all.
And that's the terrifying part when you really sit with it. You're on a treadmill. You can run faster. You can crank up the incline. But the moment you stop running, you don't just slow down.
You fall off.
You fall off. Your entire survival depends on your ability to perform tomorrow.
Which is just an exhausting way to live, no matter how big the paycheck is. And that exhaustion, that's usually the trigger, right? That's what pushes people to look for pillar number two. They feel that limitation, and they want to move from doing to having.
Which brings us perfectly to pillar two, rent.
Okay, we have to pause here. We have to do some serious reframing.
Yeah.
Because in normal conversation, rent is the check I write my landlord. It's
Right.
an expense, a burden. But the source material is very clear that in economics, rent is an income class.
Correct. It defines rent simply as payment for the use of your resource.
So you have to disconnect the word from, apartments and buildings.
Well, it's much broader. The text uses Sean and Annie to give us two very different examples. The first one is the traditional one, the land example.
Mhm.
Sean owns a plot of ground. Annie wants to put a kiosk on it to sell her stuff. She pays Sean. Not because he's helping her sell things, not because he's working the register.
He's getting paid just for access.
Oh, exactly. He controls the scarce resource. But the second example is the one I think is so much more relevant to our economy today. The intellectual property example.
Oh, this one is fascinating.
Yeah. In this scenario, Sean owns a patent or a copyright, maybe a piece of software code. Annie, the market, pays him a licensing fee to use it.
Now think about the mechanism there compared to wages. In the wage pillar, Sean has to be physically present to earn.
Right.
In this IP scenario, Sean could be asleep, he could be on vacation, he could be dead, and his estate would still be collecting those checks.
The source labels this section magic. And when you're coming from the mindset of a wage earner, it honestly does feel like magic.
It does. You've decoupled your income from your own heartbeat.
That is the core shift. To earn wages, you must do. To earn rent, you must own. The value isn't in your labor anymore. It's in the asset you control. But, and we have to be realistic here, the source doesn't present this like some get-rich-quick scheme. There's a barrier to entry.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't just decide you're going to earn rent tomorrow if you don't own anything.
That's the catch. The rent pillar requires capital or creation up front. You either have to buy the land, which probably means using money you saved from your wages,
Right.
or you have to invent the technology.
Which takes unpaid time.
Massive amounts of unpaid time.
Uh-huh.
You might work for 5 years writing a book or building a software platform, getting paid absolutely nothing, all in the hope that it generates rent for the next 20 years.
So in a way, you're front-loading all the suffering.
You are. You're banking your effort.
Hmm.
With wages, the effort and the payment are simultaneous.
Mm-hmm.
With rent, the effort comes first, often years before any payment. It's a leverage play. You're building a machine, hoping you can eventually turn it on and just walk away.
So it's high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
If you build that machine and nobody wants to use it, if Annie doesn't want your patent, you did all that work for nothing.
That's the risk profile. In wages, the risk is very low. You do the hour, you get the check. In rent, the risk is that you build an asset the market just rejects. But if they accept it, the upside is, well, it's basically infinite because it's not tied to your hours anymore.
Okay, so we've gone from selling time with wages to selling access to assets with rent. Now we get to the third pillar, and this one.
Yeah.
This one feels like the engine room of capitalism itself.
Pillar 3, interest.
Or money making money.
This is the most abstract one, and I feel like it's the one people sometimes have the hardest time with ethically. Like, why should you get paid just for having money?
Right.
But the source defines interest in this very specific, almost philosophical way. It calls it payment for waiting and risk.
And waiting is the key word there. It changes everything about how you see the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just walk through the book scenario because it makes it so clear.
Right.
We have Sean again. In this version, Sean has accumulated surplus. He has cash sitting around. And Annie has an idea. She wants to open a business. But she has one big problem. She wants to open it today.
She's impatient. Or, to be more charitable, she's ambitious. She doesn't want to spend 10 years saving up her wages to open her shop. She sees the opportunity right now.
So she goes to Sean. Sean gives her the capital. And this lets Annie just collapse the timeline. She buys the present moment. She gets to open her doors today instead of, in 2035.
Okay, so look at the trade. What is Annie buying?
Annie is buying time.
She's buying time. She's buying speed. So what is Sean selling?
Sean is selling his patience.
Precisely. He is delaying his own gratification. He could have taken that money and bought a sports car or a house, gone on a trip today. He's sacrificing his now for a later, and that interest payment he gets is literally the market price for that patience.
That is such a heavy concept when you really dig into it. Interest isn't just a fee. It is the price of time travel. Annie pays to pull her future into the present.
And Sean gets paid to push his present into the future. That's why this pillar is the ultimate form of scalability. In wages, you sell labor. In rent, you sell access to specific things. In interest, you're selling liquidity. You are providing the raw energy that lets other people build their dreams.
And you get a slice of the pie because you took on the risk and you did the waiting.
Yeah, it's pure capital allocation. You don't have to manage the land. You don't need to defend the patent. You just need to have the capital and the discipline to let it work.
But again, there's that unspoken prerequisite.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the surplus first. You cannot play in the interest pillar if you are living paycheck to paycheck in the wage pillar.
This brings up the hierarchy, right? The source doesn't explicitly label them like level 1, 2, and 3, but the progression is just It's undeniable. It feels like a video game where you have to unlock the next level.
It really does.
It's a ladder of leverage. Think about the limitations. In Pillar 1, wages, your limitation is the clock. You max out at 24 hours. In Pillar 2, rent, your limitation is ownership. You can only rent out what you have the title to. And in Pillar 3, interest, your limitation is your capital and your tolerance for risk.
The goal, then, the implied goal of this whole structure is migration. You want to migrate away from the clock.
That's the definition of financial freedom in this context. It's not about buying a yacht or having a golden toilet.
No.
It's about solving the time cap problem. If 100% of your life is funded by wages, you are in an incredibly fragile position.
Because you are the engine.
You're the engine, the fuel, and the wheels. If any part of you breaks, the whole car stops. But if you have income from rent or interest, those are engines that run alongside you. They don't get sick, they don't get tired, they don't need mental health days.
So how do we put this all together? Because I imagine you're listening to this and thinking, okay, great, I'm stuck in the wage bucket, now what? The source hints at what it calls a virtuous cycle.
The cycle is the strategy. You use your wages, your time, to buy assets that generate rent or to build up savings that can generate interest.
You use the output of the first pillar to build the second and third.
Exactly.
It sounds so simple when you say it like that, but it requires so much discipline. You have to take that wage money, which you could use to buy nice things now, and instead use it to buy patience or ownership.
And that's why the source puts so much emphasis on the mindset shift. It's about doing an audit. That's the actionable step here. Don't just listen and nod. Actually take out a piece of paper, draw 3 columns, wages, rent, interest. And look at your last month of income. Where did it actually come from?
For most people, that wages column is going to be pretty crowded, and the other 2 might be completely empty.
And that's okay. That's where everyone starts. We all start with nothing but our time. But the mission is to start populating those other columns. Even if it's $5 in interest from a savings account or $50 in royalties from a photo you uploaded to a stock site,
It's a proof of concept.
it's a proof of concept. You have to prove to yourself that you can generate value without directly trading your hours for it.
It's also a check on your hustle, isn't it? We live in this culture that just glorifies the grind. Work harder, work longer, get a second job. That's just maximizing Pillar 1.
Right. Hustle is often just running faster on the same treadmill.
Yeah.
The source is suggesting that instead of running faster, you should be trying to build a little machine that runs for you. It's a work smarter argument, but it's defined by these very strict economic mechanics, not just some motivational quote.
It clarifies the game. I think a lot of people feel like the economy is rigged or it's just chaos. But when you break it down to Sean and Annie, you realize it's just these 3 levers.
And you can see where you fit. Are you, Sean, providing the resource? Or are you, Annie, paying for the access?
I want to circle back to that interest concept one last time because that definition, payment for waiting, it really stuck with me. It feels like it explains so much about consumer culture versus investor culture.
It really does. It completely flips the script on what it means to be a consumer. We are conditioned to want the new phone now, the car now, the vacation now. And when you act on that impulse, you're Annie. You are paying someone else for the privilege of speed.
And the person who gets rich
Is the one who waits. Wealth, in the eyes of the source material, is basically the transfer of money from the impatient to the patient. If you can master the psychology of waiting, if you can sit on the other side of that table, you move from paying interest to earning it.
That is the shift. Annie isn't a villain. Sean isn't a hero. They're just roles. But you have to decide which role you want to play in the long run.
And you have to realize that in our economy, if you aren't consciously choosing to be the investor, the system is designed to keep you as the consumer.
Okay, so let's recap for everyone listening. We've stripped it all back to the studs.
Pillar 1, wages. Selling your time. It's honorable, it's necessary, but it's fundamentally limited by that 24-hour clock. It's the starting line, not the finish line.
Pillar 2, rent. Charging for your resources. This is how you decouple income from labor by owning assets, land, code, media, anything.
And Pillar 3, interest. Charging for patience and risk, the engine of capital that rewards you for delaying gratification and fueling the market.
It's a simple framework, but it gives you this lens to view every single financial decision you make. Am I selling time? Am I renting an asset? Or am I investing capital?
And once you see the economy through those 3 lenses, you can't unsee it. It stops being about money. It starts being about structure. You stop asking, how do I make more money? And you start asking, how do I change the mechanism of my income?
That's the takeaway. Don't just chase the dollar. Look at the pillar it's standing on.
Well put.
I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We talk a lot about interest being the price of waiting. And it would sound so passive, right? You wait, you get paid. But think about the active side of that equation in your own life.
Go on.
If interest is the reward for patience, look at your life right now. Look at your credit card bill, your car payment, the subscriptions, all the things you bought because you had to have them immediately. Are you currently the one paying for your own impatience? Or are you the one getting paid for your discipline?
That is the question that determines your financial trajectory.
Think about that. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.